Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you're new to me, it's the first time you're seeing my face. Hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So that's why you're here, because that's what's gonna be happening today. If you're not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and the continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have my February wrap up. I know it's coming to you a little late. It just took me a while to get this filmed because I had other stuff that I wanted to film, but here it is. And I have got quite a bit to talk about because February was quite an interesting month. So without further ado, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat. Let's get talking some books. Okay, so as always, we start these videos off with the books that I did not touch on my February TBR, which I will also link in the down box below. So if you want to go check that out, you're more than welcome to. The books that I did not touch were A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I know. Before you come for me, I already know. That's why it's been carried over into March. It got carried over, so it's not done yet. Promise. I'm not saying goodbye. The next three books that I did not get to were The Lifestyle by Taylor Hahn. This was one of my free reading books. This is the one that was about swingers. I'm a little depressed about that one because I've never read a book about swingers, and I find that idea slightly interesting. So I really want to check it out. So hopefully you'll see this again on a future TBR. I also did not get to Dating Dr. Dill. This is my Buzzword Challenge book of the month for February. Yeah, I'm doing fan-fucking-tastic with that challenge, guys. Yeah. It's great. But who knows? You might see this one again later on. And the one that I'm actually most upset about, because this is a series that I wanted to start this year, was the first installment to the Mark of the Lion series by Francine Rivers, A Voice in the Wind. So hopefully I will pick this one up again soon, because this is on one of my series to start this year in 2023, and I will link that video down below so you can go check that out if you're not familiar with it. I made a video about all the series that I want to start, series I want to complete, series I want to continue, and this makes an appearance. So yeah, so that's everything that I didn't get to. But what I did get to included these stats. And here we go. So I completed a total of 10 books this month with a DNF. So actually 11, because I did count the DNF that I did start. I just didn't finish it because I wasn't going to have it. This includes 9 physical books and 2 audiobooks. My total pages read was 3,336 pages. Really, really proud of that. Really proud of that. My total listening time was 16 hours and 11 minutes, and that does include the audiobook that I DNF'd, the amount that I listened to. And my average rating is a 3.5 for this month. So not horribly bad, even though I already have a DNF. That's slightly depressing, but you know, it is what it is. Now, I started this back in January of 2023. My videos are already incredibly long. So what I will be starting to do with my wrap-ups is I'm only talking about books that are 4 stars and up. So I will not be talking about every single book that I read this month, but if you'd like to go and get further in-depth reviews on every single book that I read, I do offer a weekly wrap-up series. I've put this weekly wrap-up every Sunday. You do get it at some point in time on Sundays. I'm trying to get better about putting a specific time frame, but you will get it on Sunday at some point in time. And I go into in-depth of what works, what doesn't work, what I liked, dislikes, tropes, triggers, all that jazz of every single book that I read. And I will link that playlist here for you guys if you want to go check it out. So the books that I will not be talking about in this wrap-up, you will find there if they appeal to you or what have you. Now, the books that I will not be discussing are these. Comfort by Megan Matthews, which I gave 2 stars. Delectable by Emily Robinson, which I gave 3 stars. Both of these were read for my ABCs of Love readathon that I am hosting with Jen over at the Book Refuge. I'll link her down below, and I will link that announcement video for the ABCs of Love read-along. If you'd like to join in on it with us, I will link it in the down box below and up here in a card for you. The other book I will not be discussing, but I do want to mention is Lords of Wrath by Angel Lawson and Samantha Rue. This is the second installment to the Royals of Forsyth University. This was my audiobook for the month, and I DNF'd the fuck out of this book because Story's an idiot. And I mean Story because that's the main character's name, the heroine's name. She's a moron. She does really stupid things with her person. I go into huge big rant about it. If you would like to see a rant video, I have enough books now that I feel like I maybe warrant that video. So if you'd like to see a whole rant video about books that I just can't tolerate and things that piss me off, well, let me know in the down box below. I have a plethora of stuff now that I think maybe I could justify a whole video, but I'd like to know if that's what you guys want to see first. So That's everything that I will not be talking about, but I did complete. Now, what I did complete and I will be talking about looks like this. So, if any of these books seems appealing and you want to jump to that book, they will all be timestamped in the down box below, or you can just sit with me on my floor and we can discuss all these books. So, let's get started. My first book that I completed for this month was actually a carryover from January, and that was Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, the first installment Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. I am reading this for the SJM Readalong, and I did not complete it in January. I completed it in February, and I did a full book review on it because this is the book that won the poll for January to earn a full book review. So it will be linked here and in the down box below. I gave this book 4.5 stars, but honestly, this thing was very, very odd for me. I didn't know how to really take this because it's so different than any other Sarah J. Maas book I've ever read. And I am not a Sarah J. Maas pro by any shape or form, but it just, after a year of literally reading her every single month, 1 or 2 books of hers a month, I thought I understood her. And this one came out the gate and said, hey, fuck you. You don't know shit about me. Here you go. And I'm like, fuck. I don't know what to do now. I had no idea what to do. So, a little bit about this book. We do feature some drug use, murder, graphic sexual situation, and classism. Brief synopsis. This is about Bryce Quillen and Hunter Alathar. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Bryce is a half-fae party girl who is friends with Danica, who is the most powerful alpha in Crescent City, and she is the alpha of the Pack of Devils, which is the auxiliary. This entire book takes place in this one city. So very, very finite world, but not, because this thing packs a punch. After a night of partying, because Bryce is a party girl, she comes home to the apartment that she shares with Danica and finds Danica and her pack completely slaughtered and obliterated. And a series of events happens on this night. And then we have a time jump of 2 years later where we are introduced to Hunt Alathar, who is paired up with Bryce to help solve some recent murders that all tie back to the night Danica was killed. So that's where our story really sets off. And it is a murder thriller-esque book with some romance and just everything all thrown in together. Again, I did a full book review, so I go into in-depth on this book. I mean, I think that book review, was almost 40 minutes. So I really break this thing down and talk about everything, but some things that worked really quickly. Plot line, this mystery thriller, looking for these pieces, murder, family drama, political intrigue. Sarah J. Maas didn't leave any stone unturned with her plot. It was great. The world she created, holy fuck, guys, what the... We not only have werewolves and fae, we have mer people, we have snake people, we have some otherworldly dog zombie things, we have gods, we have fucking angels, we have vampires. We hit every single paranormal fucking creation or God's green earth in this fucking book, in this one city. I mean, it is just like, here's the fucking world, here's the backstory of the world, figure it out your fucking self. I gave you what you need to know for the story, but she gives you so fucking much. It is just bam, 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 bam. You will feel like you're on a firing squad and you cannot catch your damn breath. I'm telling you, you can't catch your fucking breath. Can't. Twists and turns were there. Classic Sarah with her twists and turns, but they were just in an elevated format. What didn't work, it's so different from her previous installments. If you go into this having any expectations of Sarah J. Maas, forget it. Fucking forget it. Take what you know, wrap it in a little ball, and chuck it out the proverbial fucking window. Because you know shit. You know nothing about this bitch in this book. That's what really didn't work for me, is because I didn't know how to take this book. But again, check out that full review, and I will go into further in-depth of everything, including the spice rating, which, by the way, this book's a fucking tease. And I love myself a good tease. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But not with Sarah. Okay. All right. Enough about this one. Go check out the review if you want to know any more. The next book I completed was an audiobook, and this is Well Played. It looks like this. This is by Vi Keelan and Penelope Ward. I gave this bad boy 4 stars. This is a standalone. Audiobook was done by Sebastian York and Andy Arndt. combo that I fucking love. Sebastian York knocked this shit right out of the fucking park. His voice is fucking amazing, and Andy always shows up. I love her. I love her voice. We do show graphic sexual content, and we have more of a grumpy sunshine trope in this book. We also feature an ex-fiance's brother and a single mom. So some fun stuff. We follow Presley and her son has inherited his great-grandfather's Palm Inn, so she moves down to where she's originally from with her son to help revitalize this Palm Inn. And we also follow Levi Miller, who is Presley's son's uncle and Presley's ex-fiance's brother, who inherited the other half of the Palm Inn. And he doesn't want to revitalize it. He wants to sell the shit and get on his way. Levi Miller's a pro quarterback, all-around American boy. So was his brother, but his brother suffered a major injury, which ruined his NFL career and ended it very, very quickly. And his brother developing a gambling problem and a cheating problem basically fucked his relationship with Presley. But Levi doesn't know any of this. So when we have the initial contact, there is some hate between the two of them because of both sides. And then we have this dilemma of Presley wanting to revitalize the inn and Levi not wanting to. So he makes a deal thinking that she's going to fall flat on her face, that if she can book the Palm Inn completely full by the time he goes to training camp, he will sign off and keep it open, and he won't force a sale. If she can't, she has to sign off her half and sell it and put the money for her son into like a trust fund. So here's our setup. And now we have like grumpy sunshine, workplace kind of romance vibe, family workplace vibe, forced proximity because they're both living there. And well, a nice, very, very sexy, very, very enticing romance ensues. And this thing was a good fucking time, and it was a great ride. What worked, the original plot line, I really enjoyed this. I like this concept. Is it super unique? No, but it was done very, very well. And I enjoyed that. I enjoy someone who can take something that everybody knows and still make it their own and execute it well. She did a really, really great job. The chemistry between Levi and Presley was on point. Their banter when they hated each other was on point. When they were into each other was on point. When they were fighting with each other was on point. Their chemistry was there from page one. You knew it, and it did not stop. It never lulled. It never was not there, and I really, really appreciate that. The pace of the stories, the pace of the story and the arcs are very, very believable. Very, very traditional arcs. There's nothing really special about the arcs, but they are just done very, very well. There's nothing really unique about this story, any like new things thrown out there, but it is just done very, very well. And there's something to say about that when you have something that everybody recognizes and everybody sees, but it's executed so well that it stands out. But it's not unique. It's not original. It's just done so well. I think it was a really, really good job. And then, of course, the audiobook definitely lent to the appeal of this book because Sebastian York. That's all I'm saying. All right? Sebastian York. What didn't work? There was one thing that didn't really work that kind of bothered me the most was this back and forth. We do have some interesting scenarios with, you know, her falling for her ex-fiance's brother, who happens to be her son's uncle. So we have that ploy. We have him being a pro football player, being on the road majority of the time. So we have that factor. And then with these factors, we have this back and forth, like maybe I don't really want to do this because I don't want to get involved, but I'm still really into you. And we have it from her and we have it from him at different times. When one is on, the other one is off. And every once in a while, that's fine, like once or twice, but we got it multiple times. And every single time it was over a different issue that was present in the first go around. So it's like, why didn't you just bring it up then? Why are we doing it in individual issues? That was kind of the only annoyance of this book that really, really just kind of stuck with me. I'm like, that's annoying. Like, just bring up all your issues right now so we don't have to have this fight later on. You know, fuck it. Spice rating, I gave this 3 chili peppers. We have some really, really fun sex scenes. We have a pantry scene where they're almost caught, and that was really, really fun. Trying to hide from the little kids in the house. I thought that was kind of fun. It was cute. And the random dominance that we see from Levi. Levi is a unique character in of itself because he can be very dominant, and at the same time, he can also be very just fun-loving and a goofball. And so just never knowing when we get to the scene what side of him we're going to see, it felt really fun. Like I felt like I was in the room with them, and experiencing like, oh, we're doing the dominant thing now. Okay. Yes, sir. We're doing this. Or we're doing the big goofball. Okay, let's play around. Let's have some fun. That was really fun because I never knew exactly in those scenes what character I was going to get through him. And I found that very, very intriguing. The next book I read was The Broken Puppet by Mo Jones, and I do not have my copy with me because it's on my shelf, so it looks like this. This is the second installment to the Elite Kings Club series, and I gave this 4.5. We have graphic sexual situations, child sexual assault, and a Mo Jones mindfuck as a that's her niche, that's her thing, and you see it full frontal here. This is a direct follow-up to The Silver Swan. So if you've not read The Silver Swan, you will not understand this book. So you do have to read The Silver Swan, the first installment to the Elite Kings Club series, to understand this book, because this book is confusing in of itself with all the mindfucks that Mo Jones does. You want to know what the original mindfucks were, trust me. Because in this book, we do get more secrets that will carry over into further installments. And we also get a lot of questions from our first installment answered. Questions that I verbatim said should have been answered in book one because I didn't think they'd be that complicated to answer. I'm eating those fucking words, people. I'm eating those words because they were. It took the whole book to answer those fucking questions. And damn. It was good, though. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Those answers were totally worth that wait. So I will eat my words on that one. Let's see. We also do further Bishop and Madison's relationship. We get less of a physical bond, more of the emotional starting to form here. Not a lot, but we're starting to see more emotion in them than before. And it's not just like, I fucking hate you emotion. I'm starting to actually like need you emotion. I'm starting to depend on you. I'm starting to rely on you kind of thing. And that was really fun to see because of where Bishop started off at. To see him kind of break down just a little bit. That was really, really refreshing, and I enjoyed it. Let's see. What worked? The questions got answered, and we got more questions for further installments. Her revelations and twists, they are leveled up. Oh my God. So after the first book, I needed Jesus, a cigarette, and therapy. Okay, I did. This book, I think I still need Jesus and I still need therapy, but I don't think I need the cigarette anymore. But those revelations and twists, they still warrant me seeking out professional help and getting on my knees and praying to God, because what the fuck, man, fuck me sideways. Damn, that was, they were elevated. They were a Mo Jones, but just better. And it was so cool to see that. What didn't work? There's a reason I don't need the cigarette anymore, because this installment was not as steamy as the first one. And I was a little pissed about that because I really enjoyed the smut and the steam in the first one. Really fucking enjoyed it. And there was not enough of it in here. I understand that we were building more of the emotional component between these two, but man, Bishop has really good fucking sex scenes and I wanted to see them. I did. You know? We do have some drop plot points, but knowing what I know now from the first book, I have a feeling that those drop plot points are going to be future installment plot points. So it's really not something that's wrong with this book. It's just something that is irritating. I don't really like that idea that I'm introduced to something and then it's never brought up again until another book later. I rather have more meat with it. That's just my own personal preference. So it's not necessarily something that doesn't work. It's just something that irritates me personally. And the naiveness of Madison. I really get to see how naive as she is in this book. In the first book, she acquires a book that basically explains the Elite Kings Club. And in this installment, she's constantly asking the guys about the Elite Kings Club, and they're not telling her shit. They're not going to. We've already established this in book one. They're never going to say shit to her. But what they do say is, how far have you read in the book? Where are you in the book? We had to read this book when we became kings. She literally has all the fucking answers in her fucking hands and she's not reading it. No. When you have the answers right there, go fucking seek them out. Go read it and quit asking these guys because all it does is create useless and needless fights. So I didn't really like her naiveness, and I'm really hoping that that will go away in future installments because didn't really need that at all for her. Although this was not as steamy as the first installment, we still get 3 chili peppers, a lot of angry, aggressive sex. So if you like aggressive, angry sex, this is the installment for you. And there's this really weird blurring of this line of fucking and killing. Bishop is constantly saying, I don't know if I should fuck you and then kill you or just fucking kill you. I don't know. And however erotic and hot that is, it got repetitive. So we have that. The next book I completed was a Readsy Discovery book, and this is A Haunt by Christina Maraziatis, and it looks like this. I did a full book review on this as well, and I will link it up here. I gave this 4 stars. This book definitely took me for a ride. It is a Western Gothic Victorian setting book, and the trigger page in this, I say trigger page because it is a full page of triggers, and in my review I do read them, and I have to state this comment because it's hilarious when my husband said it. I read all of the trigger warnings to my husband, and he looked at me and said, you realize there's 13 offenses, like 13 offenses in that. I'm like, yep, totally gonna read it. I read this book for the trigger warnings, and I was not disappointed, but a lot of them were necessary. There might have been some for the ick factor, but they were the ones that I could handle for the ick factor. But this thing, this was fantastic. The world building in this was so dope. And the characters, dope. I loved a lot of things about this book. Did this thing have its mishaps and everything? Yeah, it did. But go check out that book review if you want to know any further in depth. But I've actually been in contact with this author, and she is sending me this book and her second one, which I believe is Curse, and she has actually requested me to review the entire series. So I'm super pumped about this. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to find out what happens because there's a twist ending in this book that I was not expecting. And when I did my review, I couldn't talk about it because I knew I would spoil it, but I think I've stepped away from it enough that I can discuss it well. This twist ending, we have serial killer, we have runaway, we have bodyguard, no character is fucking safe, and it's epic. It's fucking epic. So I'm really, really excited about picking up the second one, which hopefully it will be here soon, and I will get to review it and share it with you guys because I have a feeling it's going to be just as dope as this one, for sure. The next book I have to talk about is Barbarian Alien by Ruby Dixon, and I gave this 4 stars. This is the second installment to the Ice Planet Barbarians series. I read the first Ice Planet Barbarians last February in 2022 as a joke with my book club, so I thought it was only fitting to carry it over into February of 2023 to continue with the series, and this one follows Liz and Rahoosh. It is a direct sequel to Ice Planet Barbarians, but I would not recommend... Okay, it is a direct sequel, but you can read it without reading the first one, but I would not recommend that because there are pieces in this book that Dixon gives you a really good job of giving you an idea what happened in the first book to make you understand everything that's going on in this one. But by doing that, she is spoiling that first book. So I don't recommend reading these out of order. But if you really want to, you can to just enjoy the story. You just won't, and you'll be spoiled for the first book. So we have Liz and Rahoosh. Liz has been abducted by aliens and sold into like sex slave trafficking, and they have crashed on this ice planet of Not Hoth, which I still think is the coolest fucking name for this planet. I think it's adorable. After the first installment, Georgie and Vectel, who are the couple in the first installment, they come back to rescue the rest of the girls, and that's where this story starts off. Rahoosh is one of our Ice Planet Barbarians who has already gone through the language dump at the end of book 1, so he can understand everything these girls are saying. Liz has no fucking idea about that, but she's a Spitfire. She says exactly how it is, and she says some not so nice things about Rahoosh, who already knows because he's got the Kui, which is like this little parasitical worm thing that like protects them from the elements because this world is designed to kill you. He already has it, and it's resonating. It's vibrating within him when he sees her. So he already knows that that's his mate, but she doesn't know it yet, and obviously she doesn't like him because she keeps talking about how, you know, angry and broody he looks because he's very scarred. He's got a malformed horn because he's had a very tough life. When Liz goes to get the Kui, she is a hunter on Earth. So she grew up hunting with her dad. She grew up knowing how to survive in kind of the wild, in the wilderness, and she's always learned that you don't eat diseased meat. You don't eat parasites. I'm not going to freely ingest this thing. Fuck you. I'm not doing it. And Rahush basically forces her to take this thing and then kidnaps her and does his thing. And then that's where our story takes off. And we are alone with these two for primarily most of the book. And it's a good time. I had a great time with this. What worked? Liz's character. Loved her. She's a Spitfire. Thought it was great. I also related a lot more to this couple than I did to Georgie and Vectel. Their banter between each other, their sparring back and forth, it just was so relatable to me, even though he's a big 7-foot-tall blue alien. Still relatable. It was great. I had a good time with it. I had a big issue with how the language barrier was resolved in the first book, but the acknowledgement of the language barrier in this book was really unique because, as I stated previously, Rahush can understand Liz. Liz can't. So Liz is actually trying to communicate with him. But at the same time, she's also saying, well, he can't fucking understand me. He's a fucking idiot. But he hears all this, and he hears when she starts to notice him. And so it's really unique how the language barrier was dealt with in this installment versus the first one. So I did enjoy that. I really enjoyed Rahush's respect for Liz. He starts off as this big alpha macho machismo guy who, like, I'm the hunter, you're the wife, you stay here, you know, you keep the house. But throughout the book, he starts to develop this respect for Liz because he sees how strong she is and what she can contribute. And he's like, wow, you're extremely unique. Like, I got the fucking jackpot of a mate. I got someone who can not only keep a house, but I got someone who could go out with me and hold their own against me and protect me and save me and take care of me. They can do my job, but at the same time, they're still able to do the job that I'm used to this sex doing. This is extremely unique, and he starts to really see her as a teammate and a partner rather than just a commodity. And I thought that was really, really cool. And I loved how Liz pointed out the hypocrisy of the tribe later on in the story. I loved Liz. I loved how she did not give a shit. I loved her. And it was really unique experience because my entire book club, after they read the first one, continued on with the series. I was the only one that didn't. And they all told me that this was the book that I was going to relate to the most. So they were right. They were 100% right. What didn't work? The hypocrisy of the tribe. I thought that was kind of stupid. They need women to continue their tribe, and yet they're saying that these two can't be together because of what Rahush did, even though they are fated. They're mates. Their cooeys resonate with each other. And it's like, okay, well, we have people that actually get along, and they're going to work together, and they want to have babies. But because he did this, you need to go away. She can stay, and she can be a broodmare for somebody. And it's like, fuck you. No, I didn't like that. So I loved how Liz just threw that shit out the fucking window and like, I'm not playing this game. Spice rating. This is alien sex, guys. Okay, it's alien sex. So 4 chili peppers. We have spurs, and we have a new thing called tail play, which the imagination is the limit. Like, the way they described it, that's exactly how I imagined it, but I'm pretty sure there's other ways of doing it. Just saying. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to see it in future installments because I feel like Ruby Dixon is that chick. I really feel like she is, and I'm cool with that. That's fantastic. I loved the dirty talk in this. I thought it was great because Rahush is not really good at it, so he kind of has to learn how to do it. It's really fun to watch him learn how to do it. And we also have a masturbation scene where they are both masturbating but watching each other because they actually haven't been touched, which I thought was a really fun experience and pretty unique. So all in all, I had a really good time with this one for sure. Okay, sorry about that, guys. My battery cut out. So I was about to say is the next book I plan to talk about is The Uglies by Scott Westerfeld, and I gave this 4 stars. This is a dystopian young adult novel. We feature body modification and look shaming in it. This book came out right around the time of all the big dystopian craze, so with Hunger Games, Divergent, all of that jazz. So this is the kind of mindset that this story is in. And we have Tally, who is about to turn 16. And in this world, when you turn 16, you undergo the operation, which makes you pretty, because she's in the compound of the Uglies. And she meets up a few months before she turns 16 with this girl named Shay, who happens to have the same birthday as her. So they're both going to turn pretty at the same time. Shay doesn't want to. She doesn't want to be pretty. She wants to remain the way she is. And she finds a way out and she goes. When Tally goes to get her surgery, they find out, because this world has been keeping tabs on them, that she isn't going to get her surgery unless she turns in her friend and lets her know where her friend went, because there is a commune of people out there that have left before they became pretty to kind of go against this world that they've created at this point in time. So she has to go out on her own and find her friend, and that's where our story really 100% kicks off. What worked in the story, the world, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the Twilight Zone references in this world. This story is very similar to a Twilight Zone episode of The Pigs, and I enjoyed the references to it. I definitely enjoyed that a lot. I enjoyed Tally's struggle of what to do versus what she's always wanted. She's always wanted to be pretty. This is what she's looked up to, but now to get what she wants, she has to do this. And as she's doing this, she starts to think, maybe this isn't what I wanted. Maybe this life is what I want. And I love the story, the message the story brings about beauty and its standards of what is beautiful, what is not, who should be beautiful, who should be listened to because they're beautiful. Because that's one of the common themes in this book, is that you only get listened to if you're pretty. And I liked how this book kind of put a big, huge spotlight on that. And I really enjoyed that fact. What didn't work? The predictability in this. It's young adult, so you do have this predictability element. You very much see where the story is going. The twists and turns, pretty obvious. Really wasn't surprised by that. The very ending, wasn't surprised that that was the route that's the route that has to be taken. So I'm hoping that in future installments, maybe we'll get a little bit more unique factors and less predictability. Spice rating, this is a steam puff, and we have a few kisses. It's YA, so. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Bride of the Corpse King by Emily Shore, and I gave this 3.5 stars. And I did a full book review on this as well, because this was the winner of the February poll for a full book review, so it'll be linked here, so you guys go check it out. I had a great time with this. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, a very loose Hades and Persephone retelling. We have body scarification, partial necrophilia, which gets really interesting, fetal termination, graphic sexual content, including attempted sexual assault on Paige, dubious consent, and minor BDSM practices. We do feature FF romance, MF romance, and an MFM romance with a spiritualized component. Because we follow Isla and Alistair. Alistair is the Corpse King, and Isla is kind of a farm girl who's raised on the edge of the void, but we do know she's a very unique character because she can grow thorns and flowers out of her body. We also follow Aaron Carrick, who is the god of death, who actually inhabits Alistair, and that's where that MFM and a spiritualized component comes in. Isla sneaks into what looks to be like an underground gambling hall and gets caught by the man who she used his name to get in. He tries to sexually assault her and she runs away. She gets pinned into a library and is saved by the Corpse King, but she knows that she is not actually safe, so she makes the ultimate failsafe and volunteers to be the bride of the Corpse King. There's a problem when you volunteer to be the bride of the Corpse King, because the Corpse King is cursed by Aaron Carrick, who is the god of death. And he sucks the souls or reaps the souls of every one of Alistair's brides, and has for the last 500 years. So she is essentially signing her death warrant. And that's where our story really kicks off, with this lethal seduction as Isla maneuvers alongside the Corpse King and against Aaron Carrick, because she has in her mind that maybe she could be the one that beats the curse. She could be the curse ender. The plot line, loved it. Had great time with it. Multiple stories were going, but I was unaware until certain revelations came about, and I realized, oh, this was a whole plot. Fuck me. I didn't know that. That's awesome. The writing is beautiful. There are beautiful prose in this book. I actually read an excerpt of this book in my review, so please go check that out. Isla's character is amazing. She is strong, on point, manipulative without fucking people over, and very, very loving. I loved the ending, because if you're reading this for a series, this is a great fucking cliffhanger. But if you are reading this as a standalone, just for the romance, it's kind of lackluster. And currently at this time, there is no second installment out. And it is, if one does come out, it's going to be a very long time. So the ending, if you read this, understand that there are more installments to the story, but we don't know when we're going to be getting them at any point in time, because there's a lot of pain and a lot of strength in this book. Emily wrote this book during one of her darkest periods. If you read the author's note, she explains all this. And so it's very hard to come back to this world, because she'd have to go through all that stuff again, and kind of put herself back in that mindset, which lends to the strength of this book, because that pain that's infused in this book, you see it, and you also see the growth from it. So, it might be a while before we get a second installment in this. So be aware of that for the ending. The ending is amazing, but it's amazing if another book comes about. It's kind of lackluster if it doesn't. The one thing that really I want to point out in this, I point out a lot more and I go more in depth in that review, but I want to make you aware of this, is that the point of views in this book, we have a clear idea who they are, but there are certain scenes, especially the sex scenes, that it gets kind of muddied. We know where Isla is, and since Erin Keurig inhabits Alistair, the way Shore writes, she writes them side by side. So sometimes you can get kind of lost of who's talking and who's experiencing what sensations, but just know going in, you will figure it out based off the tones and the way these characters talk. But if you aren't aware that that happens, it gets kind of muddied in the beginning, but eventually it does clear up and you get the hang of it. Spice rating, I gave this 3 chili peppers. A lot of female ownership of sexuality. I had a great fucking time with that. And we have this really unique partial decomposed sex element, because the Corpse King, as part of his curse, is he is half like human and half like skeletal, and Isla's all about loving on the skeletal side. So there's a few scenes where we use some fingers and they have no flesh on them, and I would like to know seriously what that fucking feels like. I'm just intrigued. I'm just intrigued by that. Did you hear the clicking of the bones? Like does it poke? Does it hurt? Like, I want to know. That's so unique an experience that I'm sitting here like, I kind of want to know what that would fucking feel like. The next book I completed was Shadow of Theron, and this is 4 stars. This was an arc sent to me by the author, Catherine Troy, and she found me on Instagram and requested I do a review of this book. So I do have a full book review on this one as well, and I will link it in the down box below and the cards. This is the first installment to the Age of Shadow series, and we have an adult fantasy. We feature murder, sexual content, graphic body horror described on page, minor LGBTQ representation, and this is a Mask of Zorro retelling, which is really fucking dope. So we have some holy relics that have gone missing, and our Shadow of Theron is going up against this kind of corrupt magistrate, who we later find out is the reason that the relics are going missing. And we have some priestesses who are looking for the relics, all while the Shadow of Theron's other side, Lysandro, is falling in love with this spitfire of a woman. There is so much stuff going on in this story. It's really, really unique. Multiple plot points. I love the Zorro references in this book. If you're familiar with the Legend of Zorro, it was a series of novellas back in 1919 that feature this masked vigilante bandit, and this story follows it pretty fairly to the tune. I mean, we have the mask element, we have the similarity of the name of the characters, we have the horse in Zorro's. In the Mask of Zorro, his horse's name was Tornado. This one is Hurricane, and they both have their very unique friendships and bonds. They're very, very important character stories. And we have this romantic nature to our hero behind the mask and in front of the mask. So I really, really enjoyed this, but this is Zorro with magic, which is dope. And I had a great fucking time with it. Let's see. The hero, Lysandro de Castel, I fucking loved him. He was fantastic. I loved his romantic nature. I loved his character in and outside the mask. I love the chemistry that he had with the heroine, Seraphine, who is a fucking badass in and of herself. She was kicking ass, taking names, and not holding anything back. Really had a good time with her as well. And the twist ending. What the fuck, people? I mean, I saw this twist coming. I knew it was happening. I just think this is where they were going to put it, which really threw me for a fucking loop. There are a lot of plot points in this book, but sometimes they're not fully fleshed out, and I would like to have seen some of these other plot points fleshed out. They're not dropped, but I would like to have seen them fleshed out a little bit more, because they are very, very important to, I believe, future installments of the story, because they are the relics and things of that nature. This installment really focuses on building this romance between Seraphine and Lysandro and figuring out the mask element and how they're going to work within this world that has been created. So that was something that didn't really work the best for me. And although I love the Zorro references, if you are not familiar with the Legend of Zorro, the first half of this book really seems to heavily rely on the knowledge of that. So if you're not familiar with the Legend of Zorro, you're not going to see the references. But the areas where the references are, if you're familiar with the legend, you are going to get more of this story, because you already have the back knowledge of what those references mean and what they mean in their original material. If you don't have that original material, I think you're going to lose a lot of the beauty of the story, because it's not really explained why these things are important. So I kind of would like to see more of that. And there is a lot of unanswered questions that I felt should have been fleshed out, but this is the first installment in a series, so hopefully they will be. Spice rating, I gave this 2 chili peppers. We do have some graphic content, and we definitely have female ownership of her sexuality, which was dope. And we also have some ownership of their sexuality for our LGBTQ representation. Really, really enjoyed them a lot. And that is all I read, guys, this month. I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry about the battery cutting out, my bad. But I will see you guys all soon with another video.